Where'd you put the camera with this thing? Oh, way up there. Well, you're getting that most of the room. That's pretty good distance. Yeah, it's as of April 30th. That's your new station now for all the new. Oh, Hi, Brent. Brent. How are you?
How's everybody?
Good. How are you doing, Brent?
Where do you like me?
I think right there.
Right there?
Yeah. Waiting on anyone, Charlie, yet? Oh.
Oh, Charlie up there.
You able to get in? Well, I thought Charlie was waiting for you to touch you.
The gal left me in.
Oh, okay, Steph.
Steph? Okay.
Good.
Yeah. There he is.
Ready when you are. Okay, welcome to the May meeting of the East Lampeter Sewer Authority, and I invite you to join us to pledge the American flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we've had the minutes for a little while, I guess, unless there's any additions or corrections, will stand approved as written. Treasurer's report.
We have a balance of $18,519.98. Have bills for payment.
List them for us.
Sure. To Fulton Financial Advisors, down with $1,500. HRG in the amount of $930. The Nicholas and Cohen Nadel, $2,047.50. And Vinny Patel, Rick Robinson, Brent Stoltzers, and myself, amount of $25 each. Grand total of $4,577.50.
What about requisitions, Matt?
We have 3 requisitions. The first is requisition number 03-543. That is payable to Herbert, Brolin, and Grubick. And that is in the amount, excuse me here. That is in the amount of, that is for the pump station wet well project, as well as the Stauffer Run pump station electrical upgrade project. The total amount of that is $10,044. The next is requisition number 03-544. This is payable to CDW Government. This is for the SCADA improvement project, and it's for hardware, computer hardware associated for that project. If you look at this invoice itself, it's for 3 pieces of hardware. 2 of those pieces of hardware apply to the authority, and 1 is for the township. So the authority is responsible for 2/3 of the overall invoice, which would total $4,105.10. Again, that's $4,105.10. The last invoice is to Optimum Controls Corporation. It's requisition number 03-545. And that is for, again, for the SCADA upgrade project. Optimum Controls Corporation, or OCC, is the main contractor for that work. This is for billings to 13.2% of the overall cost in the amount of $42,337. 42337. And that's all the requisitions.
Discussion? Motion to pay the bills and requisitions.
I'll make that motion.
We got a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. Old business, fertility upgrade chopper pump.
Thank you. I'll take that one. At last month's meeting, we held off on making a decision on issuing the notice to proceed for this project because we wanted to see what would happen with COVID-19. As you are maybe aware, the governor has allowed all construction for this, all construction work within the state to resume. Therefore, I'm looking for the authority's direction on what the authority would like to do with this project as far as issuing the notice to proceed. The contract allowed for a 60-day time period after the agreement was executed, and that 60 days to issue the notice to proceed would expire on May 18th. Therefore, there's a couple different ways that we can proceed at this time. One is to issue the notice to proceed to the contractor for some time between now and May 18th and allow the contractor to proceed with his work. We could also then issue a notice to proceed and immediately then issue a stop work order if there is hesitation to allow construction to continue at this time. If we were to proceed with the stop work order, the contractor would have the ability to come back to the authority and file a claim because of the delay in the project. And that could result in an increase in schedule as well as a possible increase in cost associated with that. So I'll be looking for some direction on which way the authority would like to proceed here at this time with this project.
Matt, a quick question. Can they not, if we issue the order, can they continue to go do the work, or they're not willing to go out and do the work right now?
Oh, they are willing to proceed with the work at this time. At last month's meeting, I know that there was some hesitation just where we were, where the board was in the township, because I don't believe the township was fully staffed and they didn't want to have additional contractors coming onto site, at least at that time. So we had the ability to hold off on making a decision for another month until this meeting.
So if we issue the order, then they can now do the work, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else about that?
No, I can't see a lot of contractors on site at one time. I mean, it's not a real big job. As long as they go by CDC regulations, I don't have a problem.
No, To me, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of things to discuss about that. I mean, we might as well just
Yeah.
look for a motion to allow them to proceed, right? Somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
You know what
I'll
it is,
second
right?
it. Yeah, I got the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay. Thank you. And we'll work on then scheduling issuing the notice to proceed and scheduling a pre-construction conference with the contractor. What we've been doing on other jobs is coordinating those pre-construction conferences via Zoom with all the parties, just to maintain that social distancing aspects. That's been working out very well. But if need be, and we need to get on site to answer questions and do those type of items, we can certainly do that as well. And Charlie, I'll be in touch to coordinate dates and times that you'll be available for the pre-con.
Sounds good.
Great.
Okay, I guess we have Stauffer Run upgrade then.
I'll take that one again. We continue to work on the design of this project for the replacement of the pumps and the electrical gear. We've been completing everything to date based upon information that we've collected previously and information that we have from record drawings and our historical files and other site visits that we've done in the past on the pump station. However, we are going to come to a point here where we'll need to come on site to collect some additional information. And, we are, just to collect some additional information to keep us moving forward with this project. We were holding off on that there just to try to minimize folks on site and do as much, minimizing folks on site and do as much as we can without being there, but would like to coordinate a time here in the future to get some staff on site to collect some additional information that they need for the job. So I can coordinate that with staff if that seems okay with you.
Yeah, I would suggest you coordinate that with Larry because we are still on a split schedule.
Okay.
I think Larry's in and out of the office certain days, so if you would coordinate that with him, because I would like to have him there with you when you're deciding different things there.
Okay. I can certainly do that.
I do have something to follow up with Stauffer Run. I think it happened after our last meeting. Our diminutor, the Muffin Monster, broke. And we had some issues with it, gear grindings and everything. We did have one in the budget this year, and luckily we had it ordered a few weeks ago. It came in on Monday. It was installed, and conduits and wiring was run yesterday, and it was field tested by the factory this morning. Everything's up and running again. So it was down for about 3 to 4 weeks, which had the guys down raking the grate and everything and removing any solids that were caught there, but the diminutor is up and running again.
Just in time.
Yeah.
Wow.
You seeing, we always had the problems with flushable wipes. Are you seeing more gloves and whatnot getting flushed? I've been just hearing the news from other areas and whatnot. I've heard a guy in New York County saying they were having a problem. Kind of good one way finally when you get the flushable wipes aren't flushable out there, but I've heard 2 different medias on that. Are we seeing much more of that?
We haven't had any issues with our pumps. However, we did have issues in the wet well where the guys had to go down for a couple hours and clean due to the cake. Because as soon as the fibers start going back together, then you got the grease buildup right away on top of that. So they're like a magnet. They check it at least once a week. I think they just cleaned it last week for the second time. But we have it in our newsletter on our website. Flushable wipes are really not flushable.
Awful lot of rubber gloves lying around when people throwing out, driving down the road and stuff. That's got to get into stormwater drains too. Okay, for SCADA update.
I'll start with that.
Go ahead.
I was going to start with that, Charlie. In my report, at the end, I think the last 4 pages, there's an email from OCC, who is the contractor for this work. They're actually building all of the new SCADA panels. Just giving an update, and they're showing some photographs of the panels that have been constructed. So again, this is one where the work, you just approved a requisition. They're about 13%, actually maybe even a little bit further than that now, just based upon these panels here that are constructed. But there's a number of panels, one for every pump station, and then I think also for all the flow meter pits as well.
I did speak with our IT guy this morning. The servers have been purchased. He's waiting on the programs to load in when they're ready to go. He told me it would take probably him 2 days to get that stuff set up. We are on the hook for rental of the antenna on top of the high tower. And in our agreement through the contract with High, we need to give them 3 months in advance notice of discontinuing that service. They're going to want that antenna taken off. So we're scheduled, if they're going to try to start firing things up in field testing in June, at the end of May, Larry's going to start contacting them that will disconnect that antenna late August, early September. But what that consists of is that whole tower's got to be shut down. There's cell phone towers and everything up there because it'll kill somebody. So that'll probably be on a Saturday, and the money is in the budget to disconnect that and remove that antenna. But we may be able to work a deal. They may want to keep it for something else. I don't know. But at this point, we're scheduled to take it down late August.
Do they want to buy it from us? High? The antenna? Maybe not.
Probably not.
Okay.
We'll
Is
see.
this on battery backup, Charlie?
Pardon me?
Is this on battery backup in case we have power outage?
We have emergency generators at all our stations.
Okay.
Everything is tied into the emergency generators. That's what I had to report on that one. Unless you had something else, Matt.
I think that's everything with SCADA.
Any other old business? New business, partners meeting.
Included in the engineer's report is an update on the last city partners meeting, and that was held on on April 14th. A couple of the highlights to point out in there. I would say the biggest highlight is probably the second to the last bullet. It's in regards to the DEP sewage facilities planning exemption letter. The city indicated that they filed an appeal of DEP's decision to require the city and all contributing municipalities to complete full-blown sewage planning. The city indicated they've also are proceeding with litigation in regards to this, and they were advised us this would be a lengthy process. Basically, the city is fighting DEP's authority to require full sewage planning because of the CSO consent decree that they have with EPA. So I think the city's looking at basically they want to be treated fair. They indicate that there's other authorities and organizations who have consent decrees because of CSOs, and they're not being held to the same standard as what DEP is now requiring the city and all the city partners to do in full-blown sewage planning. The city continues to update their capital improvements projects, as is expected. Dates for those jobs keep getting pushed back at each partners meeting. They do anticipate having some new agreements coming here in June and July of this year for review and action on those items. So, they do continue their work on some of the other various projects here. And I did not change the date. I think the next partners meeting is scheduled in July of 2020.
Any other new business?
One of the new things that I wanted to alert the authority to is on page 2 of the engineer's report, the potential COVID-19 funding. So HRG's been tracking funding that the federal government's been talking about, basically a new round of infrastructure stimulus funding. And for those that may remember, back during the 2007, 2008, 2009, the federal government kicked in a lot of infrastructure dollars for projects to try to jumpstart the economy. And there is talk and a lot of action that this seems to something along the lines is going to be happening again for future funding coming down the pike here as a result of COVID-19's impacts on the economy, with potential for money for infrastructure. So looking at what was required back in 2008 time period, there is the need for, if the authority has a need for upcoming projects that they may be looking for funding for, or to be able to take advantage of these potential dollars, there are some things that the authority can do to try to position themselves better amongst all the other entities out there. Previously the work that the projects that received the highest priority were those which they defined as shovel ready. And shovel ready meant having all of your permits for the project in hand. And if there are those projects that the authority would foresee wanting to possibly take advantage of, we can discuss with you, is there a need to advance any projects, perhaps complete them for shovel ready designs to get some preliminary design work done and get the necessary planning in place. If that's more than the authority would want to take on, what we would ask for is and recommend is at least developing a capital improvement plan, a long-term capital improvement plan that says these projects are on the books. And it's not just something that was developed because of the, now there's a need, or now there's a potential for money that's out there. At least having, identifying through a capital improvement plan that these are some long-term projects that are identified and that we have approved for proceeding at some point here in the future as identified in that capital improvement plan. So I wanted to alert the authority and the township to this potential funding here. HRG's financial services staff, which is headed by Adrian, who's been there in front of you, are really staying on top of this here, and we'd be happy to discuss this more with you if there's anything that you would like to see there or talk further about, and perhaps potential projects. So.
The design work for Stop or Run is done, that would be a potential project?
That could be a potential project, yes.
Township's going to look into this then, if that's the case.
trying to prepare a capital improvement program or list of projects. And some projects that have been identified over the year, I don't know that we formalize that in any way, but different areas that don't currently have public sewer service. Certainly put on the list.
That stuff wouldn't be shovel ready though, right?
It wouldn't be.
So, I'm not that we shouldn't be looking further down the road. I'm not, but I mean, at least my understanding was the shovel ready part of it, where the Stop the Run project probably falls into that. But if you wanted to, sewer part of the township, then that's months and months and months down the road before we'd be ready for that.
Design work. I think what Matt's saying is obviously the law hasn't been passed. So last time we did this shovel ready project stuff. So this time, depending on how that legislation is written, well, it's on your capital improvement plan, television. Might have high priority ready to go.
Does that cover design also, Matt?
I don't, there's not a funding mechanism in place right now to cover the design cost to get projects to the shovel ready status.
Has anyone, or does the township know of any areas that have been pushing for sewer that are not sewered at this time? It's one of them things that people don't.
Yeah. Very.
I mean, it's a catch-22 there. I mean, at least for the.
Yeah, every once in a while, I'll receive a phone call about somebody upgrading their on-lot system and they asked, are we running sewer in that area before they spend the money? And my answer to them is 5 to 10 year project. I can't answer that, because if there's multiple people responding to that, yeah, we're definitely going to take a hard look at it. But if I get one person out of 50 residents, wouldn't pay.
Would it be in our 537 plan that HRT may already have in there identifying those areas?
Your Chapter 94 report?
Yeah.
It was. 537 is a little bit old at this point, so I'll have to refresh it a little bit, but the draft of the list that was in that plan. All that from capital improvement program, whatever. And then, doesn't really necessarily obligate you to do anything, but there. I mean, the other thing to remember here is I'm sitting here, is that you guys are now stormwater too. So probably stormwater projects. I know there are stormwater projects that get done, but aren't shovel ready.
Matt, would it cover emergency pipe replacements?
I think if those pipe replacements were planned, so I mean, I think if it was I guess one of the ones I was perhaps thinking about was the whole Treehouse Foods issue. I mean, there was a big question there on.
I was going to talk about that next.
Yep. So, perhaps that would be one, Charlie, I could foresee, like, hey, there's documented need here that we need to rehabilitate those pipes, either through dig and replacing or some sort of cured in place pipelining, or Um, you know, just throwing it out there, you know, the Mill Creek Interceptor, if you had indications like there were certain sections of that that may be compromised, I think you could have a plan, you could demonstrate the need for that proposed project to rehabilitate those portions there. But if you're aware of other areas within your system that are in need of replacement or rehabilitation, you could I think package that as a project as well.
I was going to fill the board in on the tree house. It used to be Anderson Pretzel. Did I discuss that at the last meeting? We had, I'll give you a quick version of it. We had some issues on Buckwater Road. We were thinking about paving that in a few years. I had the sewer department go out, or the public works department go out to videotape the line to see if we need pipe replacement before we pave the road. They couldn't get the camera through because there's a crust buildup half to 3/4 of the pipe. Got samples of that, sent it off to analytical labs up in Middletown, and we traced it back 340, and it came back as flour. We videotaped the line. We couldn't get the camera through. We spent weeks just opening up Buckwater Road to get 3/4 of a pipe open, and we're thinking 6,000 feet of pipe close to it. That's been affected. Treehouse is aware of it. We've met with the city because they handle our industrial waste ordinance. So we've been in contact back and forth, and then COVID-19 hit, so we're trying to line up Zoom meetings. We videotaped above their plant. The lines are clean. They look brand new. We got down to their lateral, and this crustacean stuff is hanging out their lateral. They're well aware of it. They know they've got to take changes. We just haven't had time to sit down and talk to them and what it's going to take. Clean these pipes, line them, replace them, whatever it's going to take to do something. So that's where I was getting at with pipe replacement for this infrastructure. If that's something that we've got videotape of it. And Matt, I didn't tell you, I found a video the other day of the pipe we videotaped on 340 probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So we've got video from years past and then just recently to compare.
Huh.
So
You said 6,000 feet. I mean, before it clears up then again, or?
we don't know. It gets to the interceptor. We tried to get through from Anderson Pretzel, came down Buckwater, and we haven't gone down into the field yet at the end of Buckwater where it gets to the interceptor down at 330. But the farther we go, the thicker it's getting due to settling out and low flow. So that would be a shovel-ready project. Is the reason I asked if we have an emergency replacement or emergency project, can we throw that one together? But we've got to see where the city's at. We've got to see where Treehouse is at. The solicitors are aware of it. They're on board, and Treehouse has their solicitor involved also.
Go down the road.
Charlie, I guess one of the things with that portion of those pipes, maybe half of them are the asbestos cement material. So I know there was always some caution about how clean can we really, or, you know, what type of equipment can we really get in there to try to clean those pipes, because we didn't want to damage the asbestos cement material there and cause other issues such as breaks and blockages and collapses going through that
It's
process.
the same type of pipe that we had behind Target when we had a clog down there and we set our jetter truck down through and it blew the pipe apart. And then we ended up replacing out on 30 the whole way up behind Target. So it's the same type of pipe that goes down Buckwater. So we got to use caution to clean that pipe, and it's still not clean. We're just afraid of clogs and everything. We just don't know how aggressive we can get with pipe.
You guys got your work cut out for you a little bit here with that kind of stuff, looking into what can get done or what we can, and whether we can apply for it or not.
Yeah, I didn't know about this infrastructure money out there, so yeah, it's glad you brought that up, Matt.
Yep. I did hear some discussions there on the Act 537 plan, and I pulled that up here just while we were discussing. That 537 plan dates back into, it was approved in 2012. And there was a table for some sewer extensions into certain areas of the township that were forecasted for completion in 2022. So those were New Holland Pike, Seagrass Road, Old Philadelphia Pike, Springdale Road, Alpha Drive, and Brook Farms. It did say the Zook's Corner alternate conveyance system was not being considered either at that point. But that was what was forecasted when the 537 plan was developed and submitted to DEP. I will say that, it depends upon the planning person at DEP and when they would decide to pick up the 537 plan and look at it. I mean, if they're not getting calls about issues in the area, it might be a while before they come calling on the township to say, hey, what's the status of these? But I've also been involved in other areas where DEP is saying, hey, your 537 plan, you said you were going to do this, what's the status of it, and why is it not being implemented? So just wanted to point that out because I know that there were some questions here previously about the dates.
Thank you, Matt.
Sure.
Any other new business?
With that potential funding, is there any need for me to get Adrian for like a meeting with her or anyone else from financial services to discuss anything further? What may be some next steps on any of these projects at this point, or do we want to take a wait and see approach?
Have to wait to see if the funding's going to be available.
I think we should probably try to put together a list for you of potential projects that would sort of become what could be called a capital improvement program of some sort. We probably ought to cover both sanitary sewer projects, stormwater projects. I'll let you look at that next month. If there's been legislation that's been enacted by then we'll have the information.
Kind of a cart before the horse kind of thing. I mean, it kind of puts you. I mean, you want to stay, proactive, but unless money gets approved, I don't think we're in a position right now to be spending extra money.
It'll give us guidelines for future plans.
No problem. Yep.
Putting a list together won't be very hard.
You have something you want to say, Matt?
No, I was just making a note of that. Thank you.
Any other business?
I want to mention a couple of quick things. We talked a little bit last month, maybe this should have been about the stormwater tape, our progress going forward with that. I am responding to the situation the way it is. I guess there's some possibility to change that. I have asked the board of supervisors, although it's not directly their decision, your decision, but I have asked them about their feelings on it. So I think by the time say how they feel about whether or not so for my part, I would say that we're stretched where we are with things. you'll have, nobody needs to said, don't need to worry about your fish reduction plan. Don't need to worry about your MS4 program. So that, those things are still requirements at this point. Haven't had a stormwater coordinator on board for a while. The rest of the staff's been trying to pick up slack there, but I haven't wanted to fill that position until he's in place, so we have money to spend on it rather than trying to burden the general fund. Now the general fund has been really hurt this year because I really don't want to have it on. If we can get it started in July, that's pretty good. That's what we do. And stormwater coordinator on board. If not, I just share that as have received calls. First quarter bills, sewer bills went out. Started. We have gotten some calls throughout the month from business shut down largely whether my billing for that quarter. Of course, the way we do the billing is now in April for January, February, March. Billing in July is what we told them, and I don't know if it's fair or not, as well, you know, January, February, March really
Weren't
effective. People May, June, get it. So that decision is going to be more supervising issue out there.
Yeah, stormwater fee, Hutch, that the decision can be made at our next meeting, there's still time for that?
Yes. Yeah.
Fee, I should say.
Yeah, we won't. We're putting everything in place so that we're ready. We need to change form of the bill anyway. So bills go out, but then have this sort of it'll look different. But you guys make
Or how can you pay with the zero charge? And then when you were ready to implement it, then you just hit a key and then automatically the amount starts to show up.
good.
That way they're aware that something's gonna come, but it's zero right now. Right. If there's a way software or whoever's preparing the
Right.
bills can do.
Right. Yeah, that's probably. We'll bring more information to you. Last thing I wanted to mention was that the terms of office for Rick Todd are expiring in September. Ponder it as long as you want to and decide whether you want to serve another term and want you some for number. Pretty sure.
What are they, 5-year terms?
No, they're 4 years.
4-year terms?
Until 2024.
What it was, is it a 4-year? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't remember either if it was 4 or 5.
It says on the website.
And I say 4 because with that field, you're fine.
Gotcha.
We make a motion to keep Rick on the board?
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for?
How many years have I been on? That's what I don't remember. Probably.
You were on when I started, right?
I think so. I think I was,
At the old building?
well, my dad was still alive because I know that, and my dad died in 2004.
I started in 2004 at the old building, our last year there.
I didn't go to a lot of meetings at the old building. I went to some. Maybe 2000, well, if it's 4-year terms, it might have been 2000 actually. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I didn't have any.
Anybody else have anything?
Oh, no. Thank you. We, for the benefit of the Zoom, in case somebody, looks at it, want to mention census is going on. For the census, for their count, they affect a lot of funding decisions, other issues that, government takes out, so having to go back and do that.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Brett, you want to sign
something
this
to
here?
sign.
Thanks, everyone.
See you, Matt. Thank you.
Stay safe.
I'll contact Fred. We need a signature from Fred.
I got something today, but what about